Then my dad died, and I think it was 1998.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So, leaving you a widow, and now it's been a while now. So, from the outside looking in, it appears to me, anyways, maybe to others as well, that you kind of embraced this new life of being a widow. However, no doubt losing your husband had to have been one of the most stressful times in your life. Can you just briefly share a little bit about his illness and how you lost him?
He had Waldenstrom disease, which is a blood cancer. He lived with it for 5 years after diagnosis, and had a pretty active life those 5 years. We were snow skiing 1 month to the day that he died. So it tells you he was pretty active, even though he was taking chemo. I was blessed to have a business and something to get right back into. A lot of people needed to know how the business was going to go. Were we going to fold? Were we going to make it? When you have a lot of people looking at you for their future and for them to make plans, we had to roll right on. And fortunately, my son was, he said, let's go, let's do it. And we didn't hardly miss a beat. But I would just say I would hope everybody would have something to make them move on. You have to move on. You can grieve, but you have to move forward, and I was very blessed that moved me forward fast.
So the business gave you something to get up for, to go to, and to engage socially. So that helped you in the grieving process?
Well, sometimes it's just hard for people to get out of bed.
Right.
And I had to get out of bed.
People were expecting you.
Yeah, and it was just a real blessing for me. And I also felt like I owed that to your dad. He started this business, and he certainly would not have been proud of me if it hadn't continued. So it never entered my mind that it wouldn't, and then I was blessed to have somebody that said, I can do this, and you never know how well your children can do something, but it was pretty amazing how he stepped right in.
How did you handle the evenings? You worked, and then you came home to an empty house. How did you cope with the loneliness and the empty house for the first time?
Well, I don't have too many free evenings.
Did you make it a point?
I made it a point to fill that up too. I have a lot of groups I'm in that have things going on at night. I have meetings, I have social activities, I have some very active friends groups that do a lot of things together. I had to build that, of course.
But you probably had let that go a little bit and took care of him.
Right, so you have to build that back. But I think it's very important for women to have girlfriends, very important. And I have several groups I do a lot of wonderful things with, and that's your support system. I had to build that back, but I don't have very many free nights. When one comes up, I'm pretty pleased I can do what I want to. So I think your calendar's up to you, but you can't sit and wait for things to come to you. You have to build it.
You'll find them. So I think you already answered this question on what you can say to women who recently lost their husbands is social support, girlfriends, some hobbies, something to get up and look forward to.
And move forward.
Because instead of, people think of poor lonely widows, instead I've seen you pack your calendar and continue to enjoy life, embrace life, travel. So that sounds like that must be your secret.
And the people who are lucky enough to have grandchildren at this age and live close to them, that's a blessing, because you can do more with family. You're more independent.
What did God teach you during that losing your husband, or how did your faith change during that at all?
Well, I probably talked to God an awful lot more. I mean, there are some times when you think, if you could just put my feet out of the bed and onto the floor and get me started, then I think I can make it. And I really believe sometimes that's where you have to go. I don't know how people deal with a lot of death and tragedy and sadness when they don't have faith. I don't know how that works, because that's the the background that we need, and it's kind of the substance that we're built on. So that's what you lean on.
Mm-hmm.